Well, why have a policy and procedure handbook? That is the $64 question. And look, most business owners probably are very well aware of some of the benefits that a policy and procedure handbook can give your business. It provides really the framework for you to be able to channel your employees, the processes and the procedures, so that you don't have to continually get into the process of what I call working in your business rather than on your business. So the more effective and simplistic your policy and procedure handbook is, the more easy as it is to understand and to comprehend and to actually take action on the points, the more it's going to free you up to be able to do other things which are more beneficial to business growth. So why do we need a handbook? And here's some very foundational aspects, and we're going to touch on these for a couple of minutes on this initial video in this module, because I think it's going to lay the foundation for all of the videos coming forward. First of all, it provides a structure to the organization, almost like an organizational chart. So you don't have to be able to continually keep explaining where people fit into the program. It's laid out in the handbook. It defines roles and responsibilities. Now, particularly as we start talking about these roles and responsibilities, you're going to find that your employees really flourish when they know where they fit within the organization and where they can go within the organization. So that's really a very positive point, one we're going to spend a couple of moments on in a minute. It effectively communicates your expectations to your employees, but there's also almost like a double-edged sword here, where it also binds you legally to some of the things that you need to provide for your employees. So it communicates to you, the business owner, and your managers and supervisors the expectations that your employees have. Very, very important. This ties in with being legally mandated. There are a lot of different principles, legislative laws, policies, and standards that need to be in the policy handbook. Now, we will touch on these in a moment, but sometimes having a poster on the board, even though it fills your legal obligation for a lot of federal and state mandated principles, legislations, practices, it's a good idea to be able to have that in the handbook so that your employees have a personal copy of that, and again, it covers your backside. One of probably the biggest benefits of a policy and procedure handbook is that it gives you the ability to enforce discipline. So the rules of the game are set before anyone even starts the game, and that's very, very important. It also improves productivity. So when everybody knows their roles and understands what's required of them, we can get on to the business of making ice cream, selling ice cream, and growing our businesses. So let's look at some of these points individually, because I think they warrant a little bit more of a closer look. Let's look at this structure to the organization. Now, a formal outline of your company's structure makes it a lot easier to either add new positions to the company or defines where people are within the structure of the company. It's kind of like an organizational chart. It provides a flexible and ready means for growth, meaning that those within this organizational chart know who they report to, but they also know where they can go within the organization if they want to. So most stores' org chart kind of looks like this. You've got the owner or the franchisee who basically runs and manages that location. Now, there may be a general manager, or this person might be one and the same. The general manager may also be the owner or the franchisee, and vice versa. Now, you may have underneath that general manager or the owner several supervisors or assistant managers or managers that handle shifts. And you may also have within those hierarchies, let's say, a trainer for each shift who isn't necessarily supervising the shift, but has this responsibility or an expertise to be able to assist the supervisor and assist the owner of the store in training the front counter or the customer service personnel. It's extremely important. So let's say each shift has, let's say, 2 worker bees, 2 customer service officers, the grunt workers, the people who are actually doing the work, the minimum wage people, and you may siphon in or filter in from time to time a trainee here and there. So having this structure to your organization laid out in the policy and handbook means that when a trainee comes in and starts working at your store, there is a very measurable avenue for them to be able to increase not only in salary but in responsibility. And as everybody understands this chain, It gives structure to the organization and it runs a lot smoothly rather than people just showing up for work and trying to figure out where they are in the food chain. It also helps supervisors and trainers set a standard of subordinate respect. So we've got people down here who are working the shift who are the minimum wage workers, understand where they fall so far as receiving instruction from their supervisors or their trainers. It's very important. And it's, again, not a lot of policy and procedure manuals have an org chart or a structured chart, but it is very important to do it. This leads into the next point where it defines the roles and responsibilities of each employee. Now, I can tell you right now that people like to know where they're going and they like to know the boundaries in which they are fulfilling their job. So an employee really can only reach the expectations you have of them when they know exactly what those expectations are. And again, it gives the ability to be able to feel as though they're accomplishing something in the business. I call it emotional investment. And so you'll hear me refer to that from time to time throughout all of these video modules, that when employees feel as though they are investing into the business, and I'm not talking about a financial investment, I'm talking about this emotional investment. When they feel as though they're investing their time and their emotions, their hard work into the business, when the business starts to succeed, they really do feel a sense of accomplishment. And that happens when you define the roles and responsibilities within the business, again, rather than just having them show up and feel as though they're just existing, they're doing time in the business. And these roles and responsibilities give you an opportunity to create opportunities for investment. So, for example, in our businesses, we've always had specialists, or what we call a czar. So we would have often what we'd call the waffle cone czar. And so Julie here, our waffle cone czar, would be responsible for training new employees on how to make waffle cones. Again, it's not a specific role within the business, although you probably could put her under the term trainer. And it didn't give her a lot more monetary value, but she wore a badge that said that she was a trainer within the store, and she got the respect from the other employees that she was the person that was going to help qualify them to be able to pass off their different competencies so that they could increase in their salary and increase in responsibility as well. Some other responsibilities and roles, obviously trainer we've spoken about, even some admin roles so far as having some of your employees help with the employee schedule, looking at social media marketing, maybe some review-based marketing, reaching out to the millennials. So as you give and create these roles and responsibilities within the Policy Procedure Handbook, again, it gives employees a sense of value, and it helps them have this emotional investment into your business, which makes them a much better employee, and it makes your business much more user-friendly. Your customers will enjoy the fact that your employees love working there. Here's probably one of the most simplistic ways it effectively communicates the expectations, both you to your employees and, in a strange twist of fate, your employees' expectations of you as an employer. Because there are many state and federal mandates that your employees have to protect them from the process of working in your store. And this is a two-way street. So once the policy and operational procedures are outlined, then the employees are to refer to the document rather than ask you or their supervisor. And that's the beauty of this process. Once someone explained it to me many years ago, create once, publish much. So yes, you need to review the Policy and Procedure Handbook, but once you've created an effective and efficient and well laid out policy and procedure manual, you'll give them a personal copy, you'll email a digital copy to them, you'll have a copy available in the store, you'll have available copy for a health department employee or a state employee if they want to review it. Again, create it once and then get it out there so that you don't have to keep going back and revisiting, retraining, re-going over some of the basic tenets of your business and how it runs. This allows you, again, to work on your business rather than in your business. Once you've got a document that effectively communicates the expectations that you have of your employees, then you can move that aside and then get on to promoting and growing your business. Now, I mentioned previously that there are some legislation, laws, procedures and principles that are legally mandated, meaning that there are policies and notices that are required by both federal and state authorities and sometimes city authorities to be able to have you posted to them. And generally that happens in the form of a poster. But I've often found that the things and the principles that I am mandated by the state or the federal government to communicate in the workplace, I have put inside the policy procedure manual. So no one can really intimate that I haven't communicated that information to my employees. There's a sign on the notice board at the store, and it's in the copy of the policy procedure manual that they received and they signed for. Very, very important. Because not posting or communicating these policies may not only leave you culpable if there's a breach of that policy, but in some cases there are penalties for not posting or making that information available to them. So it's really important that you communicate this. Now, what are these principles? What are these legislations or laws? Well, for a start, the very basic and obvious ones are discrimination, harassment policies. Workplace health and safety policies are extremely important to make sure that you are communicating to your employees and your managers the expectations that you have of them in the workplace. Their rights and responsibilities when it comes to working within the workplace, and also youth worker regulations. This is something that's overlooked by a lot of employers, but a lot of high school aged youths now fall within a certain parameter that the state Labor Department qualifies them as almost like a separate workforce, and they have different regulations and different requirements that they need to fulfill, and you need to fulfill as an employer. Very, very important. Obviously, disciplinary and termination policies. It's very important that this, again, is communicated to them so that they have information that they can go to the state or federal authorities if they feel that some of these disciplinary principles are being breached. Again, payroll and minimum wage, very important, very basic. And again, you can put posters up on the wall, and that requires or fills the minimum requirement. But again, putting them in the policy and procedure manual almost has you going the extra mile to make sure that this information is conveyed to them. And again, if there's ever a breach or an issue that comes up with any one of these legally mandated principles or laws, no one can ever say that you didn't communicate the information effectively to your employees. Now, as almost the best function or the best reward of a good policy and procedure manual is it gives you the ability to enforce disciplinary action. Employee discipline becomes so much an easier task when all of the parties are aware of their roles and obligations. So when the rules are set and understood from the start, compliance to those rules and enforcement of the rules becomes much easier. It's almost like playing a big game of Monopoly. So we start off at go here, and then we go down here, we get 10, and we end up either visiting jail, or we end up here in St. Charles Place. Someone owns it and we have to pay rent. Now, there's no point me arguing about the fact that I have to pay rent here because it's already set out in the rules of the game. Similarly, let's go red here. If I make it all the way around here and get sent to jail, I can't plead my case and say, well, I shouldn't have to go to jail, because that's not the case. You have to go to jail because it's in the rules of the game. So similarly, a policy and procedure manual primarily sets out the rules of the game, the rules of working in your store. So if there's a breach of those rules, and it's set out very easily and comprehensively what a breach facilitates, or what facilitates a breach, and the subsequent actions that can be taken as a result of that breach, it makes it easier for you to enforce the law. It makes it very, very easy. Now, as a final note, it also improves productivity. And there's two ways that a policy and procedure handbook can improve productivity in the store. The first of which is you have a policy that improves productivity. So it's something like time to lean, time to clean, and similar policies like that outline what is required of your employees while they're there at the store. So again, they can't say, well, we weren't told that we couldn't stand around and look at our phones or have a chit-chat, talk about the movie last night, because it's mandated in the policy and procedure handbook. Secondly, your employees do really get an impression as to how you run your business, and they learn very quickly the way that you manage from the comprehensiveness of your policy and procedure manual. So what that means is, as they go through the manual, their own personal copy, and you may want to have a digital copy that you're going through on a screen while you are training them. When they look at the comprehensiveness of the manual, they get an idea of, hey, this guy means business, or this guy has made it really easy for me to understand what's required of me as an employee to work in his or her business. It's extremely important. So here, Again, rather than just being thrown into a situation where people have to ask every 2 or 3 hours, what do I do now? Hey, is there a list here? What's required of me? When do I sign in? What sort of pants can I wear with my uniform? When all of that is laid out for them specifically, technically, and easily read and followed, it becomes a much better place to work because you're on the game. So I hope this has been a good overview of the reasons why we have a policy and procedure handbook. In the following 9 videos, we're going to talk specifically about elements of the handbook, what makes them important, and how the handbook can be an overall support mechanism to help you grow your business and manage your employees.